Chosen one, your door of wealth has opened. Step into abundance. Now the door you have been standing in front of, the one you have knocked on through years of prayer, through seasons of work that nobody witnessed, through nights when you genuinely didn't know if any of it was going anywhere. That door is open right now. Not cracked, not slightly ajar, open. And the most dangerous thing you can do in this moment is walk through it the same way you walk through every other door in your life, reactively, emotionally, without the wisdom that this particular threshold demands. Because abundance without wisdom is not a blessing. It is a test, and most people fail it not because they are bad people, but because nobody told them what the test actually looked like before they were already in the middle of it. I am telling you now, before you take another step, let me describe something that happens to almost every person who has prayed, worked, and waited for a financial shift, and almost nobody prepares them for it in advance. You have been living in a particular kind of pressure, the kind that becomes so familiar over time that you stopped feeling it as pressure and started feeling it as just life. The weight of bills calculated against income that doesn't quite stretch. The mental arithmetic that runs in the background of every enjoyable moment. The quiet, chronic exhaustion of wanting more for yourself and your family and not yet having the means to provide it. That pressure has been shaping you, quietly, invisibly, continuously. It has been forging something in your character: patience you didn't choose, resilience you didn't ask for. A relationship with gratitude that people who have never gone without rarely develop. And now things are shifting. You can feel it. Something in the energy around your life has changed. Opportunities are appearing that weren't there before. Resources are moving in directions that once seemed closed. The momentum you have been building through years of invisible work is beginning to compound in ways that are becoming visible. And here is where the problem lives: not in the struggle you are leaving, but in the arrival you are approaching. Because you are about to step into a version of your life that you have imagined but never inhabited. And the person you are right now, shaped by scarcity, by waiting, by the specific pressures of the life you have been living, is not automatically equipped for what abundance requires. Not because you aren't worthy. You are. But because abundance has its own demands, its own dangers, its own tests, and they look completely different from the ones you have already passed. Today, I want to walk you through what those demands actually are, and how to meet them with the wisdom this moment deserves. Most people miss the opening of their door of wealth, not because they aren't present, but because they were expecting it to look different. They had a specific picture of what their breakthrough would feel like: dramatic, unmistakable, accompanied by some internal certainty that this is it. And so when the actual door opened quietly, in the shape of an unexpected conversation, or an overlooked opportunity, or a gradual accumulation of small shifts, they walked past it. Your door of abundance rarely announces itself with fanfare. It shows up disguised as a decision that feels slightly uncomfortable, a connection that seems unlikely, a path that isn't the one you planned but is somehow the one that is available right now. Learn to recognize the opening not by how it looks but by how it feels: a quiet pull, a sense of rightness beneath the uncertainty, a prompting that persists even when logic argues against it. That prompting is not random. Follow it with discernment. Follow it with prayer, but follow it. The moment your circumstances begin to shift, every cell in your body will want to tell someone. I understand that impulse completely. After years of waiting, the relief of arrival wants to be shared. It wants to be witnessed. It wants someone else to confirm that what is happening is real. Resist it, not forever, but for longer than feels comfortable. Here is the truth about premature announcement that nobody tells you in advance. When you speak your breakthrough before it is fully established, you invite energies into your process that your process cannot yet absorb. You invite opinions that plant doubt in soil that needs faith. You invite jealousy that creates friction in pathways that need to remain clear. You invite dependency from people whose need, however genuine, can redirect resources that were meant to compound first. The most powerful builders in history across wealth, across legacy, across every field of lasting impact shared a common discipline. They worked in silence until the work could speak louder than any announcement they could make. Let your results arrive before your proclamations. The people who are meant to know will know in time, and what they will witness will be far more compelling than anything you could have described in advance. This is one of the most emotionally difficult truths in this entire conversation. So, I want to handle it with the care it deserves. You cannot carry everyone with you into every season of your life, not because they are less valuable as human beings, not because your love for them diminishes, but because certain relationships were formed in the context of a shared struggle, and when that struggle resolves for one person and not yet for another, the dynamic shifts in ways that neither party fully controls. Some of the people closest to you right now will find your growth threatening without understanding why. Others will relate to you through the lens of who you were in your hardest season and struggle to see who you are becoming. Still others will begin to position themselves near you not out of genuine affection, but out of proximity to what you are building. Discernment in this area is not cruelty. It is stewardship. Your energy, your time, your emotional bandwidth, these are finite resources. And as your responsibilities grow, the way you allocate them must grow more intentional. Hold tightly to the people who were present in the building, who encouraged you when encouragement cost them something, who believed in you when the evidence was thin, who stayed when staying was inconvenient. Those relationships are investments that compound over a lifetime. Hold loosely to those who arrive only now, drawn by what is visible. Time and consistency will reveal their actual intentions without any effort from you. I want to say this plainly because it is one of the most important sentences in this entire script. Money does not stay where it is not ready to be held. This is not a spiritual abstraction. It is observable, practical reality. Lottery winners who return to financial struggle within years, inherited wealth dissolved within a generation, sudden windfalls that create chaos rather than freedom. The pattern is consistent and the reason is always the same. The inner infrastructure, the mindset, the habits, the emotional relationship with money was not developed to the level that the outer abundance required. The waiting period you have been in, the season that has felt like delay, like punishment, like inexplicable slowness, has not been wasted. It has been preparation. It has been the quiet, often painful process of building the inner capacity to hold what is coming without being destroyed by it. But preparation must be conscious to be complete. If you have been waiting passively enduring the hard season without using it to deliberately develop the character, qualities that abundance demands, then the arrival of money will find a gap between what you have and what you are ready to manage. Close that gap now. Study financial wisdom. Develop the discipline of delayed gratification. Practice generosity with what you already have, because generosity is a muscle, and muscles trained in scarcity perform well in abundance. Build the inner infrastructure so that when the outer arrives, it finds a foundation worthy of standing on. Every wisdom tradition across every culture and every era has pointed to the same truth about abundance. It flows toward gratitude and away from entitlement. This is not poetry. It is psychology. It is neuroscience. It is the observable behavior of successful people across every field of human endeavor. Gratitude keeps you accurate. It reminds you that what you have was not manufactured in isolation, that it arrived through a combination of your effort and forces beyond your control. That timing, favor, connection, and grace were involved in ways you can partially see and partially never will. That accuracy keeps you humble, and humility keeps you teachable. And teachable people keep growing long after arrogant people have stalled. Build a deliberate practice of gratitude that goes beyond feeling. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Integrate it into the first and last moments of every day. Let it reshape your automatic relationship with what you have so that abundance becomes your resting state rather than a peak you are always afraid of descending from. Here is where character reveals itself with absolute clarity. Anyone can be generous in public. Anyone can make the visible donation, the announced gift, the charity that gets acknowledged. That generosity has its place and its value, but it is not the test. The test is the Tuesday afternoon decision, the private choice about whether to honor a commitment that no one else knows about, the response to someone in need when responding costs you something real and no one will ever know whether you helped or looked away. Chosen ones, people who carry their abundance across a lifetime rather than losing it to the various forces that consume the unprepared, are distinguished not by their public generosity but by their private integrity. by the consistency between who they are when observed and who they are when no one is watching. That consistency is not maintained by willpower. It is maintained by identity, by having made the decision at a fundamental level about the kind of person you are regardless of your circumstances. Decide who you are before the abundance arrives. And then let your decisions flow from that identity rather than from the pressures and temptations of the moment. The person who hustled through the hard season often carries that hustle into the abundant one, not because it is still necessary, but because it became an identity. Because stopping, even briefly, feels dangerous, feels like ingratitude, feels like risking the loss of what was so hard to build. But here is what relentless motion without rest actually produces: poor decisions made in exhaustion. Opportunities missed because the mind is too full to recognize them. Relationships neglected because there is never enough margin. A body that carries the cost of sustained stress long after the stress itself has passed. Abundance requires a different relationship with rest than scarcity does. In scarcity, rest felt like a luxury you couldn't afford. In abundance, rest is a responsibility to your creativity, your clarity, your relationships, and your capacity to keep making the quality decisions that sustaining abundance requires. Build rest into your rhythm deliberately. Protect it the way you protect your most important commitments. And understand that the wisdom you need for your next level will not arrive in the noise of constant activity. It will arrive in the quiet. Something shifts when your circumstances change. Your journey, the specific, particular, hard-won story of how you moved from where you were to where you are, becomes something other people need. Not as inspiration consumed passively from a distance, but as genuine evidence that the path is real, that the door exists, that it is possible to move from the kind of pressure they are carrying right now to the kind of freedom you are stepping into. Your story is not yours alone. It was given to you through the difficulty of it, through the survival of it, through the triumph of it, so that you could return it to others who are still in the middle of their own versions. Share it wisely, share it humbly, share it in ways that point people toward their own capacity rather than your achievement. Because the most powerful use of a testimony is not to demonstrate how special you are. It is to demonstrate how available the path is to everyone who is willing to walk it. As abundance begins to flow, so will requests, opportunities, proposals, people with ideas, with needs, with visions that require your resources, your time, or your name. Not all of them deserve a yes. One of the disciplines that distinguishes people who sustain wealth from those who cycle through it is the ability to say no clearly, kindly, and without the guilt that comes from misunderstanding what generosity actually means. Generosity is not saying yes to every request. Generosity is the deliberate, thoughtful deployment of resources toward people and purposes aligned with your values and your vision. It requires selection. It requires evaluation. It requires the willingness to disappoint some people in service of the greater responsibilities you carry. Every resource you give to something misaligned is a resource not available for something aligned. Protect what is building with the seriousness that everything worth building deserves. This is the final truth, and in many ways the most important one. There is a version of financial arrival that looks like freedom from the outside and feels like a cage from the inside. It is the version where you became so focused on appearing successful, on performing the role of the person who made it, that somewhere in the performance, you lost contact with who you actually are. The clothes, the car, the address, these things are not wrong. Enjoying the material expression of your abundance is not shallow. But when the expression becomes the point, when who you appear to be starts driving decisions more than who you actually are, you have handed your life over to an audience that will never be satisfied and has no real investment in your well-being. Walk through your door as the person who earned it, with the values that kept you going during the years of waiting, with the humor and the warmth and the particular, irreplaceable way of being in the world that belongs only to you, with the hunger for something beyond comfort, for purpose, for legacy, for the kind of impact that outlasts the money itself. That person, the real one, underneath the achievement, is the one worth being at every level of abundance you will ever reach. Don't leave them behind at the door. I want to end with something I need you to actually feel, not just understand intellectually, but carry in your chest as you move through the rest of this day and into whatever comes next. You have been chosen for this. Not in a way that excuses you from responsibility, not in a way that guarantees ease or eliminates challenge, but in the specific, irreplaceable sense that the path you have walked with all of its difficulty, all of its waiting, all of its invisible labor has been preparing you for exactly this moment. The door is open. The abundance is available. The season you have been moving toward is here. And what you do right now in the quiet of this moment, before the noise of the world rushes in, determines everything that follows. Stay quiet long enough to hear what this season is asking of you. Stay wise enough to know that the greatest investment you can make is in the person doing the receiving. Stay grateful enough to remember where you came from and who helped carry you here. Stay humble enough to keep learning when you could justify stopping, and walk through that door, not running, not hesitating, not performing, but fully, quietly, powerfully yourself. You have earned this. Every single day of the journey brought you here. Now step forward and receive it completely. If this reached you today, if it landed in a place that needed it, subscribe. Every week we bring you the kind of truth that goes deeper than motivation. Truth about who you are, what you are building, and what it actually means to live a life of lasting abundance and genuine purpose. Your door is open. Walk through it with everything you are.